against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Warren.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, breaking news, culture, matic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Guys, sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. We have a hell of a show lined up for you guys today. Anyhow, well, every time we cover this topic, it seems like you guys like it. So we're going to keep covering this topic, and we're going to keep reiterating it and updating it. So today's topic of the show is what is the 1% club of Bitcoin holders, but it's going to be by age group, right? So it's going to be a little bit of a different spin because we haven't talked about that before. So you'll see where you rank up. You'll see what your stacking goals should be, what you're trying, where you're trying to achieve in all this. But I'll tell you this, guys, it's a lot less than you might think, and I'll explain as to why that is. Basically, most of the world still hasn't woken up to the fact that Bitcoin is the superior asset. Like, there's your competitive advantage, but that window is slowly closing. Like, the fact that BlackRock is here, the fact that another public company this week announced that they're adopting a Bitcoin strategy. That window of opportunity is closing. Like, American HODL had that legendary meme of 6.125 Bitcoin or 6.15 Bitcoin, whatever it was, for many years while the price of Bitcoin was at like 3,500, like 10K. Yeah, now we're getting to that point where you better move extremely quickly, because I think the days of under 6-figure Bitcoin are slowly coming to an end. Someone says, Rave Elevator in the chat says, spoiler alert, you don't have enough. No one has enough Bitcoin. Like, I don't think I've met anyone. I think if you're a Bitcoiner, we all have this like constant dread feeling of like, wow, I wish I stacked more. I wish I got in earlier or whatever. So that's completely normal if you're a Bitcoiner. But if you hold it out a couple cycles, I would say minimum 2 cycles, you're going to be in a much better place financially than where you started. So we're going to do the total breakdown for you guys. Initially, you guys are going to be like, whoa, that is a ridiculously high amount. Then I'm going to give you the good news, because it's a lot lower than you might think if you're looking at it from the perspective of the future. So really excited about today's topic. And once again, how much Bitcoin does it take to be in the 1% of your age group, which I think is really interesting. And you guys love this topic when we cover it. Also, another news, we haven't talked about freedom of speech. We haven't talked about censorship in quite a long time. So it's something that I do want to address today, because not only are we living through the disintermediation of money, but we're also living through the disintermediation of information. Actually, the disintermediation of information is happening first, and you're seeing a reaction to that. You had the Biden administration try to introduce a new agency in the Department of Homeland Security to police speech, right? You had the Twitter files that were exposed, and there was many examples of members of the U.S. government putting pressure on a private company to censor the speech of American citizens, which is completely against the First Amendment. But, laws are suffering from inflation these days also. So we have a quick update for you guys as well on the freedom of speech side of things, because if we lose the battle for free speech, then we lose the battle for Bitcoin. If you think that if they're not okay with you speaking with each other freely about ideas and words, what makes you think they're going to be okay with you transacting freely? So freedom of speech and freedom to Bitcoin go hand in hand. Freedom of speech is our most powerful weapon against tyrannical governments, against governments that want to establish these central bank digital currencies, because they don't really have good reasons on their side. So our most powerful weapon, and I'm taking this from Naim Bukele's article that he authored for Bitcoin Magazine, Don't Drink the Elite's Kool-Aid. He says their most important weapon is their control on the truth, right? This is narrative trench warfare on the battlegrounds of the internet. if tweets are bullets, memes are artillery, you know, you got to win over the hearts and minds of people, the masses, and so that they really wake up to the fact that Bitcoin fixes this, that a lot of their divisions are caused not so much by, you know, the whole left and right and whatever. They're caused by broken money. Fix the money, fix the world. I really think it's going to unify the world in the process. So we have a lot to cover today on that front. Also, we have an incredibly special guest joining us today. We have Brandon. Brandon is, I believe you're the head of marketing at Bitcoin Trading Cards. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's an honor to be here. And
thanks for
head of
joining us,
marketing and at the Bitcoin Trading Cards. So, and happy birthday, by the way. Happy 1000th episode. And happy birthday, too, by the way. Sandbagger. I didn't know that until watching the show. So,
dude, I mean, Ben completely caught me off guard. And then, like, the amount of people, I saw Opti in there, Rustin, you know, the amount of people that were in that video was just like, I was like, Jeff Boo, like, it was like, I was like, oh my God, it was like an overwhelming feeling of stuff. So, you know, shout out to Ben for putting that together, and shout out to everyone who participated in the audio, in the video. One of them being my legendary co-host, who is always optimistic, Optimus Fields, who's literally being attacked by storms.
Yeah, guys.
I literally heard, like, right before we were going on, he's like, Nico, I might lose internet, and there was like like I can literally hear it through the microphone. What the hell is happening in Dallas, man?
Dude, I don't know. Am I past this to? No, I'm not even gonna say that because that's definitely gonna hurt our YouTube. But I don't know. There is definitely some form of weather modification happening out here.
Wait, still going on?
No. So it hit really hard Tuesday. It was pretty minor yesterday, but literally, like, right when I sat down to go on the show today, it just started thundering and raining, and it just started dumping. And so hey, if I pop off, guys, you know what happened. My electricity got shut off because of another storm. But as of now, I'm here, and if you hear thunder in the background, you guys are aware of what's going on. But it'll probably pass in 30 minutes at least. That's what the weather map is telling me. But you know, the weather guys don't know what's actually going on, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's dumping right now. I'm here. You know, another great day, Nico. It's always great. It's getting dark, you know, but hey, that's why we got lights, and everything's great, man. Everything's great. Yeah, there's a plot to stop Opti.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Anyways, guys, if you guys are enjoying the show so far.
Oh, wait, Nico, before we go, I'm sorry. I got to cut you off. Guys, go watch Nico on Sessions last night and watch how red he got. And he's like literally about to shed a tear. And he's so red that even I can see it, and I'm colorblind. So, you know, he was caught off guard.
Yeah, it was a lot. I appreciate Ben for putting that together. Anyways, guys, if you are enjoying the show, make sure to smash that like button. Really, really helps with the algos and helps push the orange signal forward. Help us break 100 likes within the first 15 minutes of the show. That's right, I put it down. It was like first 30 minutes of the show. No. Let's break 100 likes within the first 15 minutes of the show. So if you're watching us on YouTube right now, smash the like button. Also Rumble, smash the like button. Also X, smash the like button. There's currently 415 of you guys watching live between all platforms. All right, everybody, let's jump into the show. But before we do that, I do want to give an incredibly special shout out to the Bitcoin company that powers this show. And of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. It is a self-custody by default Bitcoin platform. Future-proof your money with Bitcoin Well. What does self-custody by default means? It means that you can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well unless you have the intention of taking self-custody. They literally tell you to put a self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. You send the money. As soon as the money clears, you buy Bitcoin and automatically withdraws directly to your wallet. Self-custody is the revolution, which is why Simply Bitcoin ethos perfectly aligns with Bitcoin Well's ethos of enabling independence, because after all, self-custody is the revolution. We want the rise of sovereign individuals worldwide. Buy real Bitcoin. Enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada and USA. 1% spread, Bitcoin only, non-custodial, powering sovereign ownership with free automatic self-custody. Check out bitcoinwell.com to get started. It's incredibly easy to sign up. Also, if you're a Canadian customer of Bitcoin Well, check out the recently announced cash vouchers. Buy up to 3K per day. Only an email address is required, and you could do this through their many ATMs nationwide in Canada. Also, this is super cool. I don't think I've seen another Bitcoin company do this, but you can instantly sell Lightning Network Bitcoin and receive a direct deposit into your bank account literally within minutes. When Adam showed it to me in while we were in Canada, it was absolutely incredible. You could do up to $1,000 at a time. And by the way, this is coming to the US very soon. So guys, go to bitcoinwell.com/simply. This is where I personally buy my Bitcoin. It's an amazing platform. Check them out today.
Hey, wait, Nico, before we go on, did you guys in the chat, and I don't know if Nico saw it, but did you guys catch a post last night that we posted of a guy on a Minecraft server making a Lightning payment and it going into their bank account? It was absolutely incredible. This feature's nuts.
It's so cool, guys. Like literally like immediate, like it's instantaneous. So it's really cool what they're working on over at Bitcoin Well. All right, everybody, let's check out the numbers. Here we go.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, everybody, I made it incredibly easy for you guys. You can scan the QR code on your screen or check the link in the video description. It will take you directly to the Stamp Seed website where you guys can get yourself a Stamp Seed titanium seed phrase storage kit, so you don't have to explain to your grandchildren why you completely lost your generational wealth, their generational wealth, because for whatever reason you decided to write down those words on paper. Don't do that. Don't put yourself in that situation. Your grandchildren will absolutely hate you. That's a joke, but it's kind of not a joke either. So properly secure your seed words. Get yourself a Stamp Seed kit today. Promo code SIMPLY. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $68,440. Sats per dollar, 1,461. Block height, 845,800. Blocks to halving, 204,200 March, having estimate March 22nd, 2028. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,651 Bitcoin. Capacity value, $318 million US. Realized monetary inflation, 1.63%. Market capitalization, 1.35 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 8.39%. In the grand scheme of things, we are just getting started. Anyways, this is the video that I wanted us to react to today. Here's Andrew Tate posting it. And he says, why does this woman get to decide what information I see? This is, her name is Ursula, and she is the president of the European Commission. He goes on to say, who the F voted for her? That's a very good question. Anyways, let's check out what she has to say in regards to information. Let's check it out. It's kind of dystopian. And, you know, they play these word games. Like it's like word salad plus word games to make it seem like it's a noble cause and, you need this because without this, society would burn down. And, this is very dangerous. We need these guardrails. What I would say is, I think politicians, I'm going to actually borrow something from Jeff Booth, because the way he describes it, I think is the best way. In a coercive system, in a system where money steals from you, they need to censor in order for that system to work, right? That's why in Bitcoin, we're freedom of speech maxis. It's not a coercive system. It's an incentive-based system. It's a stark difference, right? So when we talk about the party of orange versus the party of green, this is definitely the party of green. This is what they want. When we say Bitcoin or slavery, this is the slavery we're talking about. The idea of slavery back in the day was this idea where you were in a chain, in the Roman times, like, in the early American history, right? That's the idea of slavery that people have in their minds, right? But you have to understand that modern day slavery is kind of like this like digital dystopia type of thing where they'll control you not by directly forcing you to do things, but creating an incentive structure where if you do certain things, they punish you, right? That's what the social credit system is all about. That's why we are vehemently against central bank digital currencies, because it's going to give the government that power to, basically in their mind, centrally plan society the way they see fit. But if history is a teacher, centrally planned societies tend to suck ass. And societies that are based on the free market, where it's incentives driving people, not only lead to more freedoms, but also an exponentially more amount of prosperity, right? And that's an undeniable fact. That's part of the reason that Javier Milei got elected in Argentina. People got sick and tired of this bloated bureaucracy. People wanted freedom so they can start their business. They can, the pursuit of happiness is what it's all about. Anyways, let's check out what Ursula has to say. I also believe that this is Opti's ex-girlfriend before he dated Christine Lagarde.
Nika, it's like muted or something.
It's just really low. Could you?
I can't hear it at all.
That is strange. Hold on, let me try it one more time. Let me pull it up. We are doing it live. We are doing it live, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's try that one more time.
Still nothing. So maybe you want to
let me
read the subtitles. I'm not hearing a thing.
It is not working.
Really low.
Okay.
That's weird.
I'm going to read the subtitles while this video plays. Here we go. And finally, it takes resilience. As technology evolves, we need to build up a societal immunity around information manipulation. I have to use the accent because research has shown that pre-bunking is more successful than debunking. Pre-dunking is basically the opposite of debunking. In short, prevention is preferable to cure. Perhaps if you think of information manipulation as a virus instead of treating it an infection once it has taken hold, that debunking, it is much better to vaccinate so that the body is inoculated. Pre-bunking is the same approach. Okay, so I just want to emphasize this, and that's a shame that we don't have the actual audio from the video, just the subtitles. Pre-bunking is basically saying we have to censor. We can't even allow the information to take hold. We have to censor it before the fact. We have to be the arbiters of truth. Now, why is Ursula saying this? Well, it's because Elon freed the bird, right? This was an article from December 18, 2023. The EU takes action against Elon Musk's X over disinformation. right? Again, you hear this word, disinformation, debunking information. Now, why in the world would they why would they say this? Well, I'll show you why they say this. Here is Walker America. He's the host of the Bitcoin podcast. And he says, you love to see these liars at the ECB get community noted in excruciating detail for spreading anti-Bitcoin propaganda. The central bank desperation is palpable, right? And here's the example of how Bitcoin is failing. So they make the claim, the European Central Bank, Bitcoin has failed to become a global decentralized digital currency, instead falling victim to fraud and manipulation. Here's a community note. Chain analysis found that only 0.34% of the transaction volume with cryptocurrencies in 2023 was attributed to criminal activity. Bitcoin's share of this is significantly lower, with 25%. Illicit transactions with euros accounted for 1% of the EU's GDP, right? Completely rebuking them in real time. If you guys want to know why Ursula is giving these speeches and using these complex language, we need to vaccinate information. It's not about debunking, it's pre-bunking. We can't even have people speaking beforehand. If you want to know why they are going after Twitter, it's because of this. It's because the people now have a voice. They have a voice to fact check these central planners in real time. That's why they rolled out Yuval Harari. They rolled them out and they said, Bitcoin is a currency of mistrust. I don't like it because it's a currency of mistrust. We should give more trust to governments because they've done an incredible job the last 100 years, right? They can't get away with that if people are able to talk back. If people are able to rebuke that information immediately, instantaneously. If Elizabeth Warren isn't able to use her allies in the legacy media to try to convince the American public using the Wall Street Journal that Hamas used Bitcoin as a mechanism to launder money, because it was literally rebuked within a day on Bitcoin Twitter, to the point that Tom Emmer, in congressional testimony, got the head of FinCEN to admit that terrorists prefer using the traditional financial system over Bitcoin. In that environment, they can't get away with this BS, which is why you have this crazy lady making up these words about information manipulation, saying that, freedom of speech is a virus, it's an infection, and we have to vaccinate it with censorship. And coming up with these terms, coming up with these, it's just, it's just coming up with terms that instills fear in people so that people give even more control to the government bureaucracies, which, as you can see by these community notes, have been caught time and time again lying, right? It doesn't matter that it's, the European Central Bank. They can lie, right? It doesn't matter that it's Elizabeth Warren. She lies all the time. Look at the community notes, right? Here's where I think she's referencing the initial approval of the Bitcoin ETF. The SEC is wrong on the law and wrong on the policy with respect to the Bitcoin ETF. If the SEC is going to let crypto burrow even deeper into our financial system, then it's more urgent than ever that crypto follow basic anti-money laundering rules. Goes on to say, here's the community note. The American court decided approving Bitcoin ETF is lawful. The DC Circuit Court of Appeals overturned the SEC's rejection of Grayscale's bid to convert its trust into an exchange-traded fund. Here's another community note. This is by the way, this is a political commentary. We don't have an opinion on this, but Elizabeth Warren goes on to say the Israeli bombing of a refugee camp inside a designated safe zone is horrific. Israel has a duty to protect innocent civilians, and Palestinians seeking shelter in Rafah have nowhere safe to go. The community note says this year, Senator Warren voted to supply Israel with $3.8 billion of weapons. So in one hand, she's like, this is horrible. On the other hand, she's voting to enabling the things that she's complaining about. because she's obviously trying to pander to her voters, but at the same time, she doesn't want to vote against the bill because, then, the defense industry isn't going to be so nice in giving her donations, right? So it's like, this is why, people like Ursula Von whatever, president of the European Commission, are trying to scare people into thinking that somehow freedom of speech is dangerous. And the reason, guys, that we like to highlight all this stuff is because they're going to use, or better said, they have been using the same tactics as it relates to Bitcoin. It's the same BS. It's like over and over again. It's like unhosted wallet. You heard that. One of the latest things is that they want to tie unhosted wallets to tax authorities. That's one of the things that I saw Alex Gladstein talking about lately, right? So they realized that they weren't going to be able to get rid of unhosted or self-custody. So they're like, okay, let's just move on to this. It's important that we stay on top of what's happening, and it's important to understand that you're living through information warfare, right? And you are the frontline soldiers in this warfare. Like, it is up to you, the individual, not only to fight back. You can do that in the form of tweets, creating content. Memes are extremely effective to highlight the bullshit. And make no mistake, it's working. If it wasn't working, you wouldn't have the European Union go out to go after Twitter, and you wouldn't have the president of the European Commission going out saying, yeah, we need to pre-bunk stuff, meaning we need to only allow content that is approved by the committee beforehand. We can't have anything else, right? So this means we're winning. We're winning hard. This is the disintermediation of information. It's happening in real time. Keep up the pressure. And listen, guys, just because you don't have a big platform, just because you don't have a big following, doesn't mean that you cannot contribute to this cause. It's not just about Simply. It's not just about Bitcoin trading cards media play. It's not just about all, the other Bitcoin content creators, Bitcoin Mag. It's about a combined effort. So every time you see the European Union bullshit on Twitter, just put something in the comments. Try to community note it if they're lying, right? Get involved. Like, this is what it's about. It's the internet has empowered you. Use that power to fight back in this information warfare that we're going through. Because what's at stake is freedom. And what world do you want to live in? What world do you want your children to live in? Do you want your children to live in a future where this lady Ursula is getting to dictate what is true and what is not true? Because if it were up to her, Bitcoin miners, 50% tax. You can only eat a certain amount of steak every month. You can only travel, 10-minute cities. You'll own nothing and be happy. Fuck that. I don't trust her. And I don't trust the European Central Bank, and I don't trust Elizabeth Warren. They've been caught time and time again, flat out lying to us. So enough is enough. It's time to fight. It's time to stand up, fight back, and make your voices heard peacefully, of course. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on this? And then we'll move on to Brandon.
Well, I know we're on YouTube, so I'll kind of tone it down a little bit, but what she said, information is like a virus, and instantly I'm like, wow, like 2020 vibes coming out right here on this video.
No, but she's doing that on purpose, bro.
Of course,
Opti, she's doing that on purpose. She's like trying to like trigger people in the mind. She's like, oh my god, it's another information is the next pandemic. We have to vaccinate.
Well, you said it, man, because that's what I was gonna say, and I'm glad we said it on the show. But I mean, I've been saying it for a while. Like, the brainwashing is real.
The unvaccinated is the unapproved information sources. That's what they're
critical thinking is the new unvaxxed.
That's what they're saying. It's so crazy. It's absolutely bonkers. Anyways, Opti. Sorry.
Yeah, like the brainwashing's real, and it's really The part that really gets me the most, actually, there's two parts that really get me like, triggered when I hear stuff like this. The first part is the idea that like you're too dumb to critically think of what's the truth here. And, you need the institutions, you need the powers that be to tell you what's right from wrong. When I'm like, I was given a brain. I know what's right from wrong. Let me parse the information. I know I'm a left side of the bell curve person, but I know what's right from wrong. And furthermore, when it comes to freedom of speech, or just the idea of having freedom of speech in society, some of the most important parts about freedom of speech is letting dumb people speak, so you know that they're dumb, so you can hear the information and be like, no, you're wrong, like this is just flat out wrong, and I'm going to disregard everything else you're saying, versus the opposite, where it's like this bubble world where like, oh, you can't hear this bad information because you're going to get corrupted, and now you're going to be a bad person, quote unquote bad person. But it's really, really incredible that these people, the powers that be, the bureaucratic class, whatever you want to call them, think that they have the moral high ground to be like, we are the thought police. Again, I'm sure everyone's read 1984 and all of the sci-fi books of the past that basically have written down the blueprint for this happening, where they're like, look, you got to trust the state. We're going to give you all of the pre-approved narratives, and that's the real truth. And then you completely detach yourself from what is actually true. And this is where we are right now. And it really goes back to what we've been saying here on the show for a long time, that the only reason that the quote unquote powers that be have been able to get away with everything for so long is because they've been able to monopolize quote unquote the truth, or monopolize the narrative. And now we've gotten to a point where, because of social media, they're absolutely terrified of you guys having these conversations peer-to-peer. Bitcoin is not just a peer-to-peer transaction network, a peer-to-peer cash network. It's a peer-to-peer network of getting to the truth of things. And this is why they want to stop people having these conversations, because they know that if you understand that these institutions have no legitimacy, that the stuff they're feeding you is absolute lies, then you realize that why should we listen to them in the first place? These people are literally feeding you lies, and now we're supposed to believe them. Like, it's absolutely incredible. And this just goes to show that the trust in institutions are crumbling in real time because of their lies, because people are waking up to the lies, and people are waking up to the idea that every single thing that comes out of their mouth is a lie, whether it's a politician, a government bureaucrat, all of the stuff, or NGOs, as we've been seeing in the last couple of weeks. Everything they feed you is a well-crafted narrative to convince you of what you already know, or rather to misdirect you from the truth. And I really love the framing, pre-bunking, what she said, pre-bunking comes before debunking. And it's like, it's all lies. It's literally all lies. Let the truth be conversed about. Let us talk about ideas, whether they're bad or good. We're adults here, right? Like, why do we need the nanny state to tell us what's true when everyone will get to the bottom of the truth? Like, pain is the best teacher. And if I'm wrong, I will take those consequences myself. If I'm misguided, hey, I will wreck myself. But like, we've gotten to a point where they have to bubble wrap the truth, or quote unquote the truth, because they know that the trust in institutions are crumbling. So now they got to try to police speech, and we're seeing all kinds of receipts on that front, where they got to stop you from talking about things. Whether they're dumb or not is besides the point. If you can't have these conversations, then you can never get to the bottom of things. And I don't know, I've always kind of considered myself a truth seeker. I just want to know the truth. Whether I get lost in conspiracy rabbit holes or not, eventually I get to the bottom of the truth. I'm like, yeah, that was dumb. I wasted way too much time thinking about that. Completely detached from reality. But this just proves that having these conversations online, talking with your friends and family about what you think to be the truth, is one of the most powerful tools we have in our tool bag, is because the truth wants to be set free, and they want to control that. So it just goes to show, keep spreading the truth, keep having these conversations. Anyways, Brandon, what's up, bro?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal topic, and it's something that, again, the early adopters, the really the Bitcoiners right now, what we see the world through. And I know you guys are big Nolan Bowerley fans, right? The breakup, he's phenomenal. He's
Love
really,
Nolan.
I think he's a genius. I think the way he can kind of see the world, and I know many people in here too watch Nolan, and in the chat, and he really has a way of kind of putting things together and bringing things together, the frame he sees things at. But again, like, you have this world of the guys that were banning books or banning information. I don't think those people ever turned out to be the good guys. I mean, again, show me a time where those ended up being the good people in the story. And it's the drowning man in the water. They feel the power slipping away. They've created all the stupid people that they can't stand, by the way. Like, these people cannot stand all of us. They cannot stand. And all you have to do is look at the Malthusians. I know Rustin's talked about this over time, right? You guys have talked about this, the Malthusian, Marxist nature of many of these people in the unproductive class. They just vehemently can't stand us. We're the useless eaters. We just take up space. And we have to understand that. And a lot of people have been propagandized or brought up in the government education system over the last 100 years to think those thoughts, not outright, but they think things that aren't so, right? The famous Ronald Reagan quote of, they know so much that isn't so, which is almost more dangerous than anything, quite honestly. And they can't stand these people. They've created them by destroying the money and turning it into a currency and incentivizing the chaos. Then they also at the same time wonder why everyone's going crazy just to try to come in and clean things up. I mean, the arson and the firefighter, right? They created the spill at the top of the river at the factory, and then they're downstream 10 miles. Hey guys, like, let's get some nets. Let's get some nets and try to sift out the oil from the river and try to clean it up instead of just going to the fiat or going to the source and fixing the problem. We're constantly doing other things. The one thing I will say about this, though, is that we can rail against it. And it's important, obviously, to educate people on that. But at the same time, I think it is important to empathize with these people a little bit too, actually, which is something you're not going to hear very often, especially in these circles. But remember, like, these people went to Ivy Leagues, they went to the Cambridges, they went to these schools around the world where they were with their peers and they knew nothing different. They're learning Marxist or Malthusian propaganda themselves. The Club of Rome, you can go down the list of all these, thousands of organizations that teach this stuff for hundreds of years. And they always have had power in their life. Maybe they came from a certain bloodline or whatever it is. So it is relative to them. And that's where a lot of them, the insidiousness of it is they think that they're doing good. Most of them think they're doing good, actually. And that's what I think a lot of us have to really start understanding to that effect. And that's why just yelling back and forth doesn't always work well, right? Because a lot of them think that. And even, again, the fight's not red versus blue, it's a state versus you. But even you see that, obviously, in America, from an American perspective, the red versus blue, it's people, most people on both sides think they're good people and think they're doing the right thing. And I think, like Tucker just brought up just recently, the demons part, good versus evil. Now, me personally, I thought about this for decades and thought this really was a good versus evil thing. And evil has a weird way of incepting itself and using evil to corrupt people and corrupt society. So I think this is a large part of it. And to see this now happening and them unmasking themselves, really evil unmasking itself all across the world. 20 years ago, if you would have asked me as a kid when I was really into politics and really getting into stuff like this and learning about money, I would have looked at you like you had seven eyes. And that fact that people are mainstream people, legacy media, talking heads, everywhere we look now, it's not just Bitcoin echo chambers, it's people all over the spectrum. I anecdotally have friends and family, I'm sure many of you do too, where they weren't political 5 years ago, or they didn't know what was going on. They had their head in the sand. They didn't know anything about the monetary system. And now, you get people all over the place asking questions, which is the thing they're trying to take out, right? Is just asking the question. And that's what they're trying to vilify. But they're asking questions. And to have this now 20 years ago as a kid, I would have said you were crazy, that there's no way, people are so lost. We're going off the cliff. And to see this happening now, I will say I'm more optimistic than ever because we are going the right direction directionally. Some of the world might not be going the right direction, but we're asking the right questions and people are waking up. And as we've talked about many times, at the end of the day, you only need a couple percent of people. You only need the 3%, the irate and transient minority to really make change. And that's a lot of us here today. So the future is very bright.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And you did mention the Club of Rome. So we do have a caller coming in.
Just like the Bible says, it's basically an intergalactic invasion into this space through people. I'm telling you, it's what all the ancients said. It's what they warned of. It's what we're dealing with. They're demons.
All right, everybody. I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor.
I love that clip.
Dude, it never gets old. pleb party at Bitcoin Nashville 2024. Guys, if you're going to the Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville, the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth, you definitely don't want to miss the pleb party. It's going to be Thursday, July 25th, the day before the conference. It's a 12-hour open bar from noon to midnight, and it's going to have some of your favorite Bitcoiners there. Confirmed attendees include Larry Lepard, Preston Pish, the entire Simply Bitcoin crew, James Lavish, Robert Breedlove, Mark Moss, Pubby, Tatum Turnup, Adam O'Brien. It's going to be hosted in an amazing rustic automobile factory from 1910 with brick walls, and tons of proof of work atmosphere. Over 1,000 Bitcoin plebs are expected to attend. You definitely don't want to miss the Bitcoin pleb party. The one in Miami was absolutely awesome, off the chain. Michael Saylor made a surprise appearance. So guys, you don't want to miss this. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And get your tickets quickly, because the tickets sold out last year. 9 days before the event, they completely sold out. I think there's only like 40 or 50 tickets left at the current price point. So you want to get your tickets quickly, and I hope to see you guys in Nashville at the pleb party at Bitcoin 2024. All right, everybody, let's move on to news. Lots to talk about.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody. So let's talk about this, because you guys absolutely love this topic. So I spent like an hour and a half prepping this show to give you guys some sauce. Anyways, so let's talk about this. But let's talk about it in fiat terms first. Then we'll talk about it in Bitcoin terms. Then we'll talk about how there's a false equivalence between the two. And we'll talk about, most importantly, the major opportunity that is for you guys. Okay, so let's start off with what is the top 1% net worth depending by age. So if you're 25 years old, it's $325,000. If you're 30, it's 1.3 million. If you're 35, it's 3.25 million. If you're 40, it's 6.5 million. If you're 45, it's 8.5 million. If you're 50, it's 9.7. If you're 55, it's 11 million. And basically 55 plus, it ranges between 13 and 14 million dollars. That would put you in the top 1% of your age group, depending on where you are in fiat terms, right? Now, River did an incredible job in basically marking this in Bitcoin terms, right? So top 1%, if you're 18 to 24, it would be 9 Bitcoin right now. 25 to 29%, 25 to 29 is 30 Bitcoin. 30 to 34, it's 38 Bitcoin. 35 to 39, 69 Bitcoin. 40 to 44, 114 Bitcoin. 45 to 49, 126 Bitcoin. 50 to 54, 192. 55 to 59, 224. 60 to 64, 260. 65 to 69, 322. And then it kind of, goes down from there as people retire and they start to, spend their savings. So you look at this and you're like, holy cow, I might have missed the boat. But you have to understand what's happening, right? They're pricing this based on the current fiat value of Bitcoin. But if you take a look at the amount of millionaires, because these are the people that are going to be buying this, right? These are the people that currently hold the lion's share of the world's wealth. it kind of changes the conversation completely, right? And we also have something that I'll get to that in a second. So in the bottom half of the millionaires, $1 to $5 million is 54 million people currently have that amount of money. $5 to $10 million, 5.37 million people around the world currently have that amount of money. 10 to 50 million, 2.72 million people around the world have that amount of money. Over 50 million, only 264,000 people have that amount of money, right? Now, why am I saying this? Because if you're looking at this, you're like, okay, that's a little bit depressing, Nico. 300 Bitcoin, or, depending on your age group, right, in the 30s and your 40s, maybe 38 Bitcoin is just way too much money for you these days. Especially if, you weren't buying in 2016 or 2013. For 45 to 49, it's 126 Bitcoin. Be like, oh man, I missed the boat. It's kind of depressing. But you have to break down the math based on this, right? Based on the millionaire wealth ranges and the amount of millionaires in every single category. And then the math completely changes. And I'll tell you why. Because if you break down, for example, evenly, like if in this group of people, right, if the 54 million millionaires that are in between $1 million to $5 million net worth, if they just bought the amount of Bitcoin available, which I always compare it to it's really 12 million, because it's 12 million Bitcoin held by individuals. The rest is held by miners. 1 million is 1 million is held by Satoshi. 4 million is lost. The funds and ETFs, governments, 500,000 Bitcoin, and to be mined about 1.4 million Bitcoin, right? So I really put in just the 12 number, right? 12 million Bitcoin that are available to buy from individuals. If you divide 12 million Bitcoin by 54 million individuals, right? The same individuals that are in the category of $1 million to $5 million worth of wealth, this is where it gets really interesting. It's only 0.22 Bitcoin if you were to divide that evenly. If you go on to the next category, 5.4 million people with a net worth of $5 million to $10 million, and you divide 12 million Bitcoin by that 5.4 million people, you'd get 2.22 Bitcoin per person, right? So that's a completely different story than what this is saying. And why is it showing you these numbers? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's because people haven't woken up to the reality that Bitcoin is the superior asset. This is your opportunity, right? This one's a little bit dated. Currently, the market cap of Bitcoin is about 1.3, but this stays the same, right? I think gold's market cap went up to 15 trillion, art 18 trillion, collectibles 6 trillion, equities 115 trillion, real estate 330 trillion, bonds 300 trillion, money 100 trillion. And what the case is over the next couple of years / decade is that all the assets that are in these boxes right here, they're going to flow into Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the superior asset. And that's where your opportunity lies. And this is what this is showing, right? Is that these people have not yet woken up to the fact that Bitcoin exists. Because if they did, they would probably have a lot more Bitcoin. The price would be a lot higher by now, making it out of reach of most people. So anyways, moving on to the next category, 2.75 million people with a net worth of $10 million to $50 million. 12 million Bitcoin divided by 2.7 million equals 4.36 Bitcoin for that category of people if you were to divide it evenly. And then 250,000 people with over $50 million net worth, if you were to divide 12 million Bitcoin by 250,000, you'd get roughly 48 Bitcoin per person, right? Just to kind of give you an idea, right? And I'll go back to the first one. There's more millionaires right now on planet Earth than there are Bitcoin. And if you subtract the 4 million that are estimated to be lost, Do the math, guys. Like it's like simple math. Like if every single millionaire, I'm not talking about someone who's worth 5 million or 10 million or 50 million, just every single millionaire wanted to buy one Bitcoin, they physically could not. They could only buy a portion of a Bitcoin. And that's where the opportunity lies. That is where you have a major opportunity, because people of these net worths have not woken up to the fact that Bitcoin is the superior asset. So if you were to denominate it in dollar terms, this is how things would be broken down. But this is assuming that all these people that are worth, 10, 15 million dollars are holding the majority of their wealth in Bitcoin. That's not the case yet, because if not, obviously the market cap of Bitcoin would be a lot bigger compared to these different asset classes, which Bitcoin is superior to. I mean, you had a public company go out on record yesterday, the second public company that's publicly traded on the NASDAQ, Semler Scientific. They literally said it in the press release: Bitcoin is superior to gold, and gold is about 10x where Bitcoin's current price is. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to put that together, right? Anyways, so let's kind of look into the future and, bring it down to earth a little bit. And let's look at the 1% of Bitcoin holders with current Bitcoin holders, right? So this is one of the best, things that I've seen put together. Currently, it would take you about 15 Bitcoin to be in the 1%. It would currently take you 89 Bitcoin to be in the 0.1%. It would take you 215 Bitcoin to be in the 0.03%. It would currently take you 433 Bitcoin to be in the 0.01%. It would currently take you 0.003% to be in the it would take you 2,189 Bitcoin to be in the 0.003%, and it would take you 7,000 Bitcoin to be in the 0.001%. Also, here is an excellent, chart as well, and it just has all kind of the categories, right? So a fish is someone who has between 50 to 100 Bitcoin. There's currently about 11,000 fish. Dolphin is between someone that has 100 to 500 Bitcoin. There's currently about 10,000 of them. Sharks, there's only about 1,500 sharks, and it takes 500 to 1,000 Bitcoin to be in that category. A whale is someone who has 1,000 to 5,000 Bitcoin. There's roughly estimated only to be 2,000 of those individuals. A humpback whale, like someone like Michael Saylor, it's estimated that there's only 220 of those individuals. Of course, this isn't talking about asset managers like BlackRock. This is talking about individuals, right? So if you add all these together, right, I'm doing like rough math off the top of my head. It's roughly 25,000 people that fit into this category. Once Bitcoin hits 1 million per coin, all of a sudden, guess what, everybody? The Bitcoiners are going to have a nice chunk of that percentage of total millionaires with a net worth of over 50 million and plus. Right. It's a very kind of interesting observation. And then, of course, this wouldn't be Simply Bitcoin without some memes. And I think this is one of the best memes I've ever seen in regards to where you stack up in the Bitcoin Citadel. And I absolutely love it. And, I'm going to keep saying it. So the no coiner is someone with 0.0001 Bitcoin. The rope, the cope, the hope, the suicide stack is 1 Bitcoin. The break it stack is 5 Bitcoin. The make it stack is between 5 and 10 Bitcoin. Generational wealth is considered 10 Bitcoin. The dukes have 50 Bitcoin. The kings have 100 Bitcoin. The emperors have 1,000 Bitcoin. The whale stack, and then these guys on the top with 10,000 Bitcoin. But times have changed. The price of Bitcoin has gone up. If you're from one of the newer classes, I think things have changed a little bit. So the Bitcoin pleb is someone that has 0.01 Bitcoin or less. The Bitcoin soldier is someone who has 0.01 to 0.25. The Bitcoin mercenary is someone who has 0.25 to 0.5 Bitcoin. The Bitcoin yeoman is someone who has 0.5 to 1 Bitcoin. The Bitcoin knight, 1 to 3 Bitcoin. The Bitcoin Baron, 3 to 10 Bitcoin. the Bitcoin Lord 10 to 20.99 Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin King 21 Bitcoin or above. And that would put you in a very special club having those 21 million Bitcoin. Those 21 Bitcoin. Anyways, the last thing I want to end it with is where we are going, because we have to kind of think long term. I said all of that. Maybe you guys just like don't even come close, to these crazy numbers. One coin right now is $68,000, and you're like, Nico, this is absolutely crazy. The ship has sailed. I don't know how I'm going to stack up to this. But what I always want to reference is Bitcoin has no top because fiat is going to continue to inflate forever. And what you want isn't necessarily more fiat. That's kind of like a psyop. What you actually want is more purchasing power. And if you live on a Bitcoin standard, your purchasing power will continue to increase forever. And that's the signal. And this is a great chart by Luke Broyles. And he's basically making the case that this is, where people would line up after hyper Bitcoinization, after Bitcoin becomes the world reserve asset. And then the numbers are a lot more surprising, right? So for you to be a nation, a mega rich, entity, you'd need about 140,000 Bitcoin. For you to be considered a multi-billionaire small nation, you need 8,000 Bitcoin. For you to be a billionaire / mega corporation, you need 120 Bitcoin. For you to be a multi-millionaire / large corporation, you need 10 Bitcoin. For you to be a millionaire, you need 6.06 Bitcoin. Upper middle class, 0.008. Middle class, 0.001. Lower middle class, 0.0004. Lower class, 0.0002. And, then it goes on to poverty. So right here, according to this chart, if you want to be a millionaire in the future, 6 million Satoshis, all it takes you is 0.06 Bitcoin today. And if that seems implausible, if that seems like totally unbelievable, this is going under the assumption, of course, that we reach Hal Finney's, famous prediction of, I think it's like 10 million per Bitcoin and today's purchasing power. Does that seem unconceivable? No, it doesn't seem unconceivable at all, because I always reference what has happened in the past. If you take a look at the famous Andreas video, where it was like one of the first Bitcoin conference, and he's literally just giving a speech to, he's giving a speech to a room full of it's an empty people. It's just, there's no one in the room. The price of Bitcoin was only $100. Can you imagine how much people would be in that room if they knew that, 10 years later, the price of Bitcoin was going to be at $68,000 from $100? It would be, people wouldn't believe it, which is why this is your opportunity. Because if you're denominating in fiat, look at this. It's like 300 Bitcoin. That's a lot. If you're 40 or 45, 114, 126 Bitcoin, that's a lot of Bitcoin these days, right? The thing is that these individuals haven't woken up to that yet. And when they wake up, just to kind of give you an idea, there is literally not enough Bitcoin for them to buy. There's literally not enough Bitcoin to go around. So if you want to be in the elite class, really, like right here, look, 0.22. If Bitcoin hits $10 million per coin, which I think it will inevitably do, because it inevitably does, because it's infinity divided by 21 million, according to Luke Broyles' report, you only need 0.06. So I know it sounds inconceivable, but it sounded totally inconceivable that Bitcoin went from $1 to $100 to $1,000 to $20,000. Just like it seems inconceivable today that Bitcoin eventually is going to hit 1 million, and then Bitcoin eventually will hit 10 million. That sounds inconceivable today, just like it sounded completely inconceivable 5 years ago, 10 years ago, where we are today. right? And that's something to remember. So yeah, I still think that there's a tremendous amount of opportunity, but I do want to emphasize this, and I don't think I've ever said this on Simply Bitcoin before. The window is slowly closing for you to become a whole coiner. $68,000 is a lot of money. That's more than the average salary of, of an American, which is, one of the highest paid countries in the world in terms of individuals. So, I would go on to say that I would say this is your last epoch for that type of opportunity, because, once we're in the six figures, man, like it's going to be very hard to stack a whole coin. Doesn't mean the opportunity's lost. Doesn't mean the opportunity's gone. I'm going to be buying Bitcoin in the millions of dollars, because if not, what? Am I just going to be holding my money in something that's like a melting ice cube? So yeah, man, I hope you guys found this valuable. I know that you guys really enjoy when we cover these topics. So I spent a lot of time working on this morning. And Opti, what did you think about it, brother?
Well, first and foremost, Nico, I do have to correct you a little bit. You keep saying that there's not enough Bitcoin, and I would disagree. There's always enough Bitcoin. You're just going to have to pay a higher price for it. So, hey, it is what it is. What's the meme? You get Bitcoin at the price you deserve. But anyways, I'm really glad we got these new updated numbers by River. Not only do they, first of all, they seem kind of ridiculous. I'm not going to lie. Like a 20-year-old with 20 Bitcoin or whatever, like that's crazy.
No, you don't understand.
I know what it's saying. I know what it's saying.
It's like in the net worth of fiat.
I know. But just think of it. A 20-year-old with 20 Bitcoin right now, like that would be nuts. Yeah, like that. That'd be incredible. Anyways, moving forward. I think, kind of going back to, I'm glad that we do this, because of course, we're all still fiat programmed, and we're all still kind of in the fiat rat race, and we all want more dollars and stuff. But while you were doing this, I did do a little quick Google search, and here I can pull this up so people can see it as well. Like this bit is talking about, and then we constantly do this for people, talking about getting into the 1% of wealth in regards to, being at the top. But I find it very interesting that when you go to just like what the average savings is, or the median saving by age, like it's not that much money. Like people aren't saving any money. And the reason I'm bringing this up, and for the audio listeners under age 35, the average savings is about $20,000. If you're in the 35 to 44 range, it's like $41,000, 45 to 54, 71,000, et cetera, where ages 70 plus is around $82,000. And then the median savings is even lower than that. Like people are not saving any money. And that's because of how the fiat system designed. Everyone's incentivized to just spend their dollars as quickly as possible. So I brought all that up to kind of, and I really like the last numbers you put there, Nico, because it makes it seem a little more attainable for everyone to elevate their position in society. And you don't need as much Bitcoin as you probably need moving forward, especially with the how Bitcoin goes up forever. Like it's going to basically take less Bitcoin to hit those numbers, which is the beauty of Bitcoin. And I find it very interesting when we talk about this stuff, because I always say, and shouts out to CK, because he's got the meme, 32 sats is generational wealth. And I always kind of bring this back to a very simple idea that I fundamentally believe that any amount of Bitcoin that we hold today will be a substantial amount of wealth in 10, 20, 30 years from now as this game starts to play out. So as much as we like to, and this might be bad framing, play the fiat games and try to get into the high net worth and be in the 1%, be able to claim that idea that like I'm 1% wealth earner or wealth saver in the world. I think it's very important to remember that any amount of sats that we save today moving forward are going to be a substantial amount of wealth. And the point is to get off zero, is to start saving in Bitcoin, because most people have no savings, period. So, dude, of course,
Opti, hold on. I have to show this, man, because like this is like
which one are you? Yeah.
Like 0.22 Bitcoin. Like if every millionaire right now on planet Earth, right? That's like, if every millionaire on planet Earth right now, and it was divided evenly, that 12 million Bitcoin, which would never happen. It would never be divided evenly. It would be 0.22 Bitcoin per millionaire. Like, I mean, bro, look, in between the category of people that are worth $5 to $10 million, it'd be 2.22 Bitcoin, right? This one, the 0.22, that's totally attainable. If you work hard, you put your head down, you save, that's totally attainable. And now you are in a very, very like, man, that's elite, bro. Right. So, I mean, I got to say, Opti, like, the opportunity's still there, man. It's just 100%. Like people got to put their head down. We've been saying this since the price of Bitcoin was below 10K. We've been saying the same exact message, you know?
100%. And then just adding to the end of this, like, I think the goal for everyone has always been just hold on to one Bitcoin. I love the meme of get to 2.1 Bitcoin. That's 1/10 millionth of the total Bitcoin supply. Like, I think those are very attainable goals for most people, but holding one Bitcoin, I'm convinced, will eventually be generational wealth. It'll be life-changing money, especially when you consider the $900 trillion that have to fight for the total market cap of Bitcoin. I think it's very important to realize that these numbers are very attainable, and all you really got to do is just be consistent, stack Bitcoin, and keep going. And then, you know, just kind of trolling a little bit. The new millionaire is a sat millionaire, guys. You just need 1 million sats, and you're already a millionaire. And I don't know what that price is right now, but it's what, like $600. So it's very attainable to be a millionaire in today's day and age. All you need is 1 million sats.
Someone had a really, really interesting comment in the chat. I want to address it. Like, no, it would not. If all millionaires bought tomorrow, the margin price of Bitcoin would be 1,000x. That's the point I'm making, guys, is that it is literally a tiny, like, compared to all the rest of the asset classes where these millionaires have their assets parked in, Bitcoin is a tiny speck. What do you think is going to happen when they realize that Bitcoin is the better place to put their money? This is why I'm showing it to you. Right now, you have the opportunity. When we first started talking about this, it would have, you know, 0.22 Bitcoin would have cost you a couple $1,000s, right? So that's the opportunity. If everyone knew about this, the opportunity would be gone. If those millionaires that were worth 5 to 10 million or $50 million plus, if they actually understood Bitcoin, the opportunity would be gone. This is what we're trying to highlight for you guys. Anyways, Brandon, what's your take on this? And we'll move on to the culture.
Yeah, I agree with you guys wholeheartedly. I'm going to attempt to bring this all together with what you guys are saying. So, you know, like it's hard because we think of things in fiat terms still, because that's all we've ever known, all of us, in an inflationary system. And that's what we have, right? We don't live in the future. So it's tough to project. And so I'll try to touch on it and come to a point here with what you guys are both saying. So the system gets cheaper. So I know some people get, you know, oh, I can't get this amount or I can't get that amount, but the system gets cheaper even if you didn't own any Bitcoin. I mean, as life goes forward and we come to a Bitcoin standard and hyper Bitcoinization, we all benefit. That's the beauty of this. You just need a little bit, or again, even if you don't have any, energy costs are coming down, food costs come down, housing comes down. And again, someone might say, well, if I don't have any Bitcoin, then how am I going to buy those things? Well, even look at it from a perspective of people, there's living standards, but also the life force not being sucked out of you. You're able to have people have a more fulfilling life. So that way there's not as much violence in the street. There's not as much homelessness. There's not as many of these things going on. There's less divorces. There's less craziness going on in the world, less angst, less war. There's all these things that fiat causes that we don't even realize. Most of us don't realize that those things are happening. And that's where the average person who doesn't even own Bitcoin gets to benefit from those things moving forward. And the Bitcoiners, the people of the world that start gaining that power, they're rebuilding society. They're building citadels. They're building new cities. And we've already seen that. I mean, we've already seen Trump, I think it was Trump or Elon or whatever it was, like the freedom cities, and talking about this the last like 4 years. And literally new cities will be built with Bitcoiners because they will have the wealth. Ironically, they're going to be the ones that have the wealth, the lords, the barons, all the different memes and different graphics you guys are showing. And it leads me to, you know, and so the butterfly effect, it ripples both ways, both positively and negatively. So fiat ripples negative, and then this sound money world, true sound money, ripples positive. So again, we talked about Nolan Bowerley earlier, and you guys were talking about that this week, and I believe it was yesterday, about how fast this really goes. And Nolan was talking about the 4chan post from like 10 years ago that referred to the T.S. Eliot's poem of Hollow Men. And it was saying like, hey, this civil war is not going to happen how we think it's going to happen. It's not going to be people dragging each other into the street, killing people and stuff like that. It's just going to be years of divorces and government corruption and families breaking apart. And you know what? They don't even really care about being a family anymore, actually, in this really dystopian view, which is what we've lived. This isn't going to play out going forward. It might for a few more years or a few more months or whatever it is, but we're at the end of that. We've lived that. Again, you guys reference it. Many of us reference the WTF happened in 1971. We've been living that the last 50 years. That exact 4chan post about T.S. Eliot's poem, we've been living it. We've been living in the Civil War, in the war that most people don't even realize that they're in, the fiat war, and that's the thing that's coming to an end. And Bitcoin almost signifies the end of that in a way, like just like Bitcoin was the end of the trying to figure out digital finite scarcity. We had that. It's not the beginning. It's not like, oh, hey, we have all these altcoins now we're going to try to reinvent fire. This was like 100 years or whatever it was, 50, 80, 90 years in the making of trying to figure out this encryption process and trying to make this. I mean, Henry Ford thought about this and talked about this, for crying out loud. So we're at the end cycle. We're at that true fourth turning where, Cameron McGregor always talks about the age of abundance and the age of scarcity. We're leaving the age of abundance and we're going into the age of scarcity, where masculinity comes back into play, which again, we can talk about testosterone or things of that nature, where you're using a human with the more testosterone they have, just science, if you believe the science, you're generally using more logic and less emotion. As someone like Robert Kiyosaki always talks about, or certain people out there, when emotions go up, intelligence goes down. Now there's different levels of that, right? Because we're all emotional creatures, whether you're a man or woman, but you start seeing this kind of swing, this pendulum come back to a society where there's more scarcity. We're building more community. We have things like the iceberg is truly going to flip, in my opinion. It's the true gradually then suddenly, because we're near the end. We're not at the beginning of like, oh, we're going to have 100 years of like chaos and civil war and stuff like that. We've been living through it. We've been living through the massive, like we said, divorce and society, families ripping apart, and all these different crazy things that have been going on, wars, endless wars, and the gerontocracy leaving power. I mean, think about these things. Again, things you guys have talked about for a long time and Bitcoiners have talked about, but the gerontocracy leaving power, the demographics changing. I mean, is any younger person under 40 going to be, oh yeah, I definitely want 401k, definitely want Social Security. These things are bankrupt. So like those things are huge. And when nations realize that they will, this process, which you guys just outlined in the last day or two on the show, they will print themselves into oblivion trying to get every last Bitcoin. And who are they going to be buying from? They're buying it from all of us. So now your purchasing power is going up. And great, print it into oblivion and buy as much as you can from us. And we will become the ones, they will seal their own fate. The legacy nation state will seal their own fate by us selling off eventually to them, and then we will accrue the power. We will become the lords, the barons, the kings, and then we defund the state. And it naturally has people that are in their right mind now, working in leading things. And like Opti said, I'll finish with this, trying to bring us all together here and land the plane. Opti said the nation states, again, paying higher prices. Remember, though, to use that capital, though, to do good things with it, right? Build citadels, your whatever it is, housing for people. Like we said, even if you don't own the Bitcoin, this is where the Bitcoiner ethos comes in, true voluntarism or being charitable, where you now have that wealth, do something with it. You can still make more Bitcoin. You don't need to just sell it off and now I'm done with it. This is the legacy investing mindset of like a Robert Kiyosaki, in a sense, where you're doing something with that Bitcoin, something productive. Now we're trading it for whatever it is, a multifamily apartment complex. You're doing things to now earn more Bitcoin, or could be fiat, earn more fiat to turn it back into Bitcoin if we're not there yet. But I hope that kind of makes sense there at the end. But then, Absolutely. Like you said, Nico, every dollar, last thing I'll say, Nico, is like you hit the nail on the head as well, that every dollar you spend right now, you could have invested in Bitcoin, and that will be 100x or 200x or 1,000x in the future in Bitcoin terms. So just remember, every dollar you're spending now could have been invested in Bitcoin and could be 100x, 200,000x for what it is today.
Absolutely.
Hey, Nico, 100%. I know we're
100%.
going to the culture and we're running late, but I have to say something here. I will be a benevolent Lord, and you guys could call me Lord Opti. Very, very,
all gold, everything. All gold, everything.
Very casually, just call me Lord Opti. Not my full name, just Lord Opti.
It's okay. No longer Optimus Fields. It is Lord Opti from now on. All right, everybody, before we go down to the culture to talk about what Brandon is working, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, The Orange Collapse. Stack friends who stack sats. Find local Bitcoiners and events and merchants near you. They have a very cool geographical feature. So you pull up the app, it will show you Bitcoiners around you. Also has a really clever filtration system. So you'll only find like-minded individuals and Bitcoiners on the app. There's currently 10,485 Bitcoiners that are currently on the Orange Pill app. I truly believe that Bitcoiners are going to be some of the most influential, powerful people in the next 5 to 10 years. So it's probably a good idea to build up that Bitcoiner Rolodex. A great way to reach me directly. You can DM me via the Orange Pill app. So check out the Orange Pill app today, scan the QR code, or check the link in the video description. Let's hit the culture.
The Daily Culture.
All right, everybody. I also want to give a shout out to where I personally buy my Bitcoin mining ASICs, KABOOMRACKS, the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. Check out their racks by scanning the QR code on your screen, and it will take you directly to their Telegram marketplace where you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You could also sell your mining equipment with them, access their vast customer base. If you want to sell mining equipment, KABOOMRACKS is the place to go. You could scan the QR code on your screen right now, and it will take you directly to their special sale going on. They're offering instant hosting for the S19K Pro. Your hash rate goes online after your payment is confirmed. You own the miner. This is not a hash rate contract. So guys, if you want to start hosting instantly, if you want to start mining ASAP, check out KABOOMRACKS special sale, scan the QR code, or you could check the link in the video/podcast description. Opti.
Let's go. Okay. All right. This is where the fun parts happen. All right, Brandon, you're also a fellow content creator. You do work for Bitcoin trading cards, but I do know that there's a conversation you did want to talk about today, and you kind of touched on it in the last bit. It's the idea of how fast is this going to happen? And I want to connect this with another topic that I know is very, very important to you, is Bitcoin and family. So let's start with how long do you think this is going to happen? And you kind of touched on it earlier. And then, of course, like building things and creating things and being a part of the change we want to see. So Brandon, platforms are yours, bro. Let's get an awesome Brandon rant here.
No, again, thank you guys so much for having me on. I know we've been running long. There's a lot to get to. And yeah, family obviously is number one, most important. And again, we touch on the Malthusians, the Marxists, all these things. And that's the genesis of a lot of what's going on, especially the last 100 years, century and a half of attacking the family. And yes, I've a wife, 4 kids. You guys got to meet them last week, or Canadian Bitcoin conference, it was awesome. They got to finally meet a bunch of people they've heard about, friends and stuff like that. So it was super cool. And it leads into why I left real estate a couple years ago, doing real estate, for 10, 12 years and investing in real estate. And I knew I needed to be in the Bitcoin space and wanted to educate. I've always been an educator at heart. And, just kind of went through years of trying to educate people in the real estate space and what money was and all these things after I left professional hockey 12 years ago. And, you start, it was diminishing my business at that time because people are like, well, what do you do? Like, you're like educating on like gold and silver and like all these different things. This is 10 years ago when I was really fully orange pilled, and what are real rates and all these different things. And so the people, they're like, what do you do? Like, do you do real estate? Are you an investor? So it became very clear over time that I was in the wrong place and I really needed to educate people. And that was the big thing. So, working on children's books and things like that I've got a handful in the works, and got with Aladdin a year and a half ago to really start down that road. And he had already started, really just dropped at Pacific Bitcoin 2022, the first series of Bitcoin trading cards. And the thing that the last couple of years, I just kept coming back to me was lower your ego and raise your humility. And, I love Adam's talk he gave in Montreal, that Jesus is a Bitcoiner. And that resonated with me a lot. And his show, I think it was Monday when you guys did the show, just really phenomenal explanation he gave. And if anyone saw the talk, great, but you don't even need to in a way. You can just even listen to the couple of minutes he gave on the show the other day from earlier this week. It's phenomenal. And it really gets back to humility. And it is why it resonated with me. Just, again, humility. Kids help give you that humility, obviously. and seeing like, hey, life's not about you, and it's about these kids, about these people, and who are the people you really have power over. Quite honestly, who are the people you have influence over? They're your kids. In a way, you might have some influence over your spouse or your significant other, but it's really your kids. They look to you. I forget the quote, but there's an unbelievable quote by I think it's Bob Proctor, and it's his Why or You Were Born Rich seminar. I think it's Born Rich from like 1987. It's like a 6-hour or more seminar you can listen to. And he talks about, I think it's one of the guys he's with. And anyway, the whole moral of the long quote the guy gives is, why do anything in life? And we're kind of in this world now where like you can just sedate, you can just play fantasy football, pick up a 6-pack, grab some pot, take some illicit drugs, some legal drugs, whatever it is. And you can just sedate, kind of Brave New World 1984 style. But they've attacked family. This whole thing we've been talking about all day of people attacking the family and this Malthusian mindset of it. This is why they attack the family, because at the end of the day, it used to be, like, again, your kids would look up to you, and you felt that, like, you were just like, I need to do right by my children and my family and my family's name. And really, that's a lot of it's been destroyed. We talked about, again, the last 40, 50 to 100 years of this process of destroying that. And in this world, again, the 4chan post of we've gone through that. We're now towards the end of that. But it was, how do you the quote of like, there's these little eyes that are watching you every single day, every little move you make, every sound you make, everything you say, how you look at them, every little thing, they pick up on that. Children pick up on those things, and it's incredible what they can learn. Mine are 7, 5, 3, and 1. And I mean, you guys saw them the other day. They're ripping up whatever they were, Zimbabwe or Venezuelan bolivars, I think, the other day with Isabella at the conference. And they already know cash is trash, or fiat is just paper and it's not worth anything. And it's amazing what they can learn at that age. And so again, between the kids' books and there's great macro talk, and like we said, I interview people on the Playable characters on my YouTube channel for Bitcoin trading cards as a top of the funnel thing to get people to see Bitcoin trading cards and help promote that. Obviously, the content you guys do, there's all kinds of people doing that. We need 10,000 more people, but there's more people coming online every day. We need more education. But how can we do other things? Is it children's books? The Tuttle Twins kind of is similar ethos as Bitcoiners. They're going down that road. There are games we can create. And there's some games that are coming out there, Huddle Up, and there's, Shamri's got books, and there's all these different things. But how do we really educate the youth and other people in other ways? Because everyone works in different ways. I remember 10 or 12 years ago, I had this thought when I was leaving professional hockey of there needed to be a Call of Duty, but for like the Bill of Rights. And I was like, how can you build a Call of Duty for like George Washington? Like, how can I make this like people are learning while they're playing Call of Duty? Because that was the big game at the time when I used to game in my younger days. And so I was thinking about these things, and it was like, okay, how do you do this? And I just had no idea. And then again, 10 years later, I meet Aladdin, and it's this route of children's education. Again, why I'm so bullish on, I think the iceberg flips, because the younger generations only know Bitcoin. They only know this. They're not going to go any other way. They're not going to gold. They're not going to 401ks and 529s. That's complete, old world, legacy world finance that's just completely crumbling around us. So it became very obvious to me, again, I need to get out of real estate. I need to get out of these things. I need to go this direction. I didn't even know what it meant at the time. And I knew I had to be in Bitcoin. I just took a leap of faith. I'm a faithful person. I have a strong faith, and I always have. And it was just like, hey, God, I'm jumping. I have no idea what this means. I'm like firing multiple people in my real estate. Like I fired myself, and I was like, hey, sorry guys, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here type of thing. Like I'm firing myself because I know I need to be in this world, and I didn't even know what it meant, but I know I needed to educate and help people around me to see this fiat prism that everyone sees life through, and to see it in a different way, to look on the other side. And like Solomon, anyone's familiar with the Bible, Solomon, the wisest man in the world, could see a problem from every single angle, right? And that's what Bitcoiners have a tendency. We can see things from different angles, and we can see things outside of that matrix, that fiat matrix, and we can see above that and see the different sides of the argument a lot of times, a lot clearer than other people. So that to me was some of the biggest reason why I left real estate. And I left hockey, then got into real estate, and then I got into Bitcoin a few years ago to really work full time in Bitcoin. And then I always joke with you guys, like I just got into Bitcoin Twitter like in 2022, and I was always like, what's the bull run like? I always ask Opti, I think, a couple years ago, like, what is the bull run like? Because I've never experienced it. I got into Bitcoin in like 2018, and I was doing real estate though. So I just was like, I'd buy it and I'd sit there, but I was on other platforms doing other things because I was trying to build my fiat business, you know, and I would joke with people now that like the Titanic going down is the best. It's the best analogy I could ever give to someone about the system, the, you know, fiat system and politics, everything being the Titanic. And real estate in the investing world is you're the last to go in the water. The Titanic's broken in half at this point, and you're going in the water, and you think like, yeah, haha, like I'm on top, like this is amazing, and real estate's amazing, and you're just the last to go in the water because you're like everyone's, you know, underneath the water but below you, and you're just like, yeah, it's amazing, and you're still going to be 12,000 feet under the sea, and you just don't know it yet. And that's where the Bitcoin being the life raft is such a profound visual to see like, no, this is a completely different system. Like you can try to skirt the rules and, you know, property taxes and do all this stuff and fight the municipalities, but you're still on the Titanic. And again, the voting part, we always joke with voting. It's more to just get people out of their mindset, I guess, in a way. But, you know, being active locally in voting obviously would have helped if we would have done that for the last number of decades. In the last, you know, 50, 100 years, we've been more active just as a society. We are where we are, but I think you do have to vote and you do have to be active to set a precedent and show the young ones and show the people, hey, this is how we do things. We stay engaged and we do these things. Although at the same time, again, I think Bitcoiners, a level of genius, as Nolan would say, again, another Nolan thing, is being able to see things, have differing opinions or see things from both ends of the spectrum, but being able to have two opposing opinions that are ahead at the same time. Because at that same time, I do believe there's a lot of once you've hit the iceberg in the Titanic, voting right now, currently, as it currently sits, is probably a lot like trying to pick a new captain once you hit the iceberg already. It's not going to matter who's leading the ship because, again, the fiat Titanic is still going down to the bottom of the ocean. And so, again, all this just became very clear to me over 15 years, starting with really the great financial crisis and seeing Obamacare, you know, and what happened there. That jammed down everyone's throats. Tea Party, Occupy Wall Street, really two sides of the same coin. Media tells us we're opposite. And then seeing the election in 2012 happen when it looked very obvious Romney was having Trump level crowds at that time. If people actually remember, terrible candidate, but he was having Trump level crowds and people showing up to rallies. And Obama really wasn't having no one show up to his rallies. And all of a sudden, Obama wins again. Those were things that really the inflection points that woke me up to say, okay, there's a matrix, there's something going on here that I need to figure out, which led me down to, you know, studying all these books and studying all these things, which to where I'm now and working at Bitcoin trading cards. And that's where we are today. And I get to come and talk to guys like you and collaborate and make content. And you guys, you know, help us a lot. And we love collaborating with you guys. So it's a very cool world that we're in now, but that's, to me, full circle. This is why I'm so optimistic, because the younger generations, the demographics changing, the content out there, people questioning everything, the Tuckers of the world, all the way on down to the things we're doing. And then anecdotally, the people, the friends and family that are really involved. I mean, I just see good things. And at the end of the day, knowing, hey, God has a plan, and you know, these things happen. Life goes on. The sun comes up tomorrow, and we're going to get through it.
Love it, Brandon. Love it. All right, I do want to talk about the content because I really like this meme you got here. I absolutely love the memetics here. Guys, go to YouTube, Brandon_Gentile, and I love this, playable characters. So why did you choose playable characters? I know where this is going, but will you spell this out for the people that don't understand the memetics here?
Yeah, so obviously one of the memes in Bitcoin is just NPCs or non-playable characters. And being someone who gamed when I was younger a lot and spent a lot of time playing Call of Duty and SOCOM back in the day, for anyone old enough to remember that in the early 2000s, you had AI characters, right? People that didn't think, they just did what they were programmed to do. And that's, you know, I was a Matrix fan growing up too. So you have all these themes coming together. So that's where we start every show, basically just thanking everyone for coming on, being a playable character, and really doesn't have to be a Bitcoiner, but just someone who can think or critically think and not be just stuck in this world of seeing things from this fake prison of two ideas, or being in this world where you're seeing things just from this matrix, or again, like whether it's conspiracy stuff, or like I test people all the time of just like throwing things out. I don't even believe some of the things I say, but I just want to see how people react. And are you going to get emotional, or are you going to go fly off the handle, or are you going to be like, huh, you know, like that's interesting, and question me on it, you know, things like that. So that to me is really kind of breaking people out of the matrix and being a playable character, someone who can question everything with boldness, even the existence of God himself. For if there is a God, you know, surely he'd appreciate that over blindfolded fear, which is one of my favorite Thomas Jefferson quotes. So that's where the playable character, you know, meme, obviously it's a play off the Bitcoiner ethos.
Love it, bro. Absolutely love it. All right, Brandon, we are going a little long, so I want to give you the last 2 sets. What's the final message you want to leave to the audience? Your final words or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys again so much. This is a phenomenal show. You guys always do an unbelievable job. Again, the thing I keep coming back to for the last number of years is just lower the ego, raise humility, and in trying to give other people platforms too. And that's partly why I do what I do, just to give other people platforms. Like I hear myself talk enough over the last 25 years, and whether it was hockey or, people seeking what you thought, or just me running my mouth largely to my family or friends or people around me, it was like, okay, I need to lower my ego. I don't know everything, raise my humility and start giving other people platforms. But I do want to, and that's why I love helping Bitcoin trading cards as well, because I'm very entrepreneurial, and I have a hard time personally being told what to do. Hence why I think a lot of us Bitcoiners are Bitcoiners, because we don't like people telling us what to do. And so it's a humility thing where I want to learn more about myself in a way as well. I want to help Aladdin. I love the mission. Aladdin's very red pilled, very orange pilled. We see very close together, very similar to you boys here. And so it's a great cohesion, but I do want to learn a little more humility as well as part of it too. Like I'm not going to be an entrepreneur or everything. I still have other business ventures that I'm the entrepreneur and I'm the person in, but I do want to learn a little bit of that aspect of well. So that's partly why I work with Aladdin, do what I do. But the other little tidbit I want to leave everyone with today is just a learnings about the system that we're in, which was given to me by my Italian, I guess he's my wife's Zio. So my Italian uncle, or her Italian uncle, and it's BBB. So this is how Italians work, and this is how business works, and this is how now you understand how really all this works, politics and all the things we're seeing in life work, which is a frame to see everything, which is kind of the fiat frame. So BBB, it's bullshit, bribery, and blackmail. So that's the order. When you're thinking of what's going on in the world, that's the order which ironically, the Italians, the Club of Rome type of stuff, but you've got Malthusian, you've got the Machiavelli, stuff like that, Mussolini. But bullshit, is the lies, obviously. Bribery are the laws, stimmy checks or canceling student debt, all these things, right? If those don't work, then you get to blackmail, which is what we're seeing a lot of nowadays. Who's the most blackmailable candidate? So anyway, we get way down the rabbit hole. I know we went really long, but I wanted to give everyone that frame. Again, a Nolan frame, type of frame, I guess. He's big into the frameworks, right? So a framework to kind of live by and see business a bit through, but in fiat business and also fiat politics and what we're seeing. So appreciate you guys a ton. This has been an absolute blast.
Love it, Brandon. Love it. Great. That was a great framework. I like the BBBs.
Triple B's. Bullshit.
Triple B's. I almost said another acronym with BBs in it, but I'm not. Hold on, I got to clear up some of these breaking tickers here. I do not give out free tacos ever. I do not bribe you with tacos. Did you not hear what Brandon just said?
Oh man. Anyways,
this is not the free taco standard.
That was Simply Bitcoin for May 30th, 2024. I'm your host, Nico. This is my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields, and of course, our very special guest who's going to be joining us in the co-host seat more often. We got Brandon, head of marketing at BTC Trading Cards. Guys, if you guys enjoyed the show, smash the like button, consider subscribing. We love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow for the last episode of Simply Bitcoin Live for May, the last episode of May 2024. Peace out, everybody. Love you all.
Episode was brought to you by bitcoinwell.com, on a mission to enable independence.